Ezekiel or Ezekiel, chapters 28 through 31. And the word of Yehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, say to the prince of Sor, Thus said the Master Yehovah, because your heart is lifted up, and you say, I am El, I sit in the seat of Elohim in the heart of the seas. Whereas you are a man and not El, though you set your heart as of Elohim. Look, are you wiser than Daniel? Has no secret been hidden from you? By your wisdom and your understanding, you've made riches for yourself and gathered gold and silver into your treasuries. By your great wisdom, by your trade, you've increased your riches, and your heart is lifted up because of your riches. Therefore, thus said the Master Yehovah, because you have set your heart as the heart of Elohim, therefore see, I'm bringing against you strangers, the ruthless ones of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the loveliness of your wisdom, and they shall profane your splendor. Down into the pit they shall bring you, and you shall die the death of the slain in the heart of the seas. Would you still say before him who slays you, I am Elohim, whereas you are man and not El in the hand of him who kills you? The death of the uncircumcised you shall die, by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken, declares the Master Yehovah. And the word of Yehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, take up lamentation for the sovereign of Zor, and you shall say to him, Thus said the Master Yehovah, you were sealing up a pattern, complete in wisdom and perfect in loveliness. You were in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering, the ruby, topaz, and diamond, beryl, shoham, and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald and gold. The workmanship of your settings and mountings was prepared for you on the day you were created. You were the anointed cherub that covered, and I placed you. You were on the set-apart mountain of Elohim. You walked up and down the midst of stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways on the day you were created, until unrighteousness was found in you. By the greatness of your trade, you became filled with violence within, and you sinned. So I thrust you from the mountain of Elohim, and I destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your loveliness. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I threw you to the earth. I laid you before sovereigns to look at you. You profaned your set-apart places by your many crookednesses, by the unrighteousness of your trading. Therefore I brought forth fire from your midst. It has devoured you, and I turned you to ashes upon the earth before the eyes of all who see you. All who knew you among the peoples were astonished at you. Waste you shall be and cease to be forever. And the word of Yehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward Sidon and prophesy against her. And you shall say, Thus said the Master Yehovah, See, I am against you, O Sidon, and I shall be esteemed in your midst. And they shall know that I am Yehovah when I execute judgments in her, and I shall be set apart in her. And I shall send pestilence upon her and blood in her streets, and the slain shall fall in her midst by the sword against her from all sides, and they shall know that I am Yehovah. And there shall no longer be a pricking briar or a paining thorn for the house of Israel from among all who are around them, who despise them. And they shall know that I am the Master Yehovah. Thus said the Master Yehovah, when I have gathered the house of Israel from the peoples among whom they are scattered, I shall be set apart in them before the eyes of the nations, and they shall dwell in their own land which I gave to my servant Yaakov. And they shall dwell safely in houses and plant vineyards and dwell safely when I execute judgments on all those around them who despise them. And they shall know that I am Elohim, I am Yehovah, and they are Elohim. Chapter 29. In the 10th year, in the 10th month, on the 12th of the new moon, the word of Yehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face against Pharaoh, the sovereign of Mitzrayim, and prophesy against him and against Mitzrayim, all of it. Speak, and you shall say, Thus said the Master Yehovah, See, I am against you, O Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, O great monster who lies in the midst of his rivers, who has said, My river is my own, and I have made it for myself. I shall put hooks in your jaws, and I shall make the fish of your rivers cling to your scales, and I shall bring you up out of the midst of your rivers, and all the fish in your rivers cling to your scales. And I shall leave you in the wilderness, you and all the fish of your rivers. On the face of the field you shall fall, and you shall not be picked up or gathered. I shall give you as food to the beasts of the field and to the birds of the heavens. All the inhabitants of Mitzrayim shall know that I am Yehovah, because they have been a staff of reed to the house of Israel. When they grasped you with the hand, you broke and tore all their shoulders. When they leaned on you, you broke and made all their loins shake. Therefore, thus said the Master Yehovah, See, I am bringing a sword upon you, and shall cut off from you man and beast. And the land of Mitzrayim shall become a desert and a waste. And they shall know that I am Yehovah, because he said, The river is mine, and I have made it. And therefore, see, I'm against you and against your rivers, and shall make the land of Mitzrayim an utter waste and a desert from Migdal to Savannah, as far as the border of Cush. No foot of man shall pass through it, nor foot of beast passed through it, neither shall it be inhabited for 40 years. And I shall make the land of Mitzrayim a desert in the midst of the lands that are waste, and among the cities that are ruined, her city shall be a waste 40 years. And I shall scatter the Mitzrites among the nations, and I shall disperse them throughout the lands. For thus said the Master Yehovah, At the end of 40 years I shall gather the Mitzrites from the peoples among whom they were gathered, and I shall turn back the captivity of Mitzrayim, and I shall bring them back to the land of Pathros, to the land of their birth. And there they shall be a lowly reign, being the lowliest of reigns, and never again exalt itself above the nations. And I shall make them few, so as not to rule over the nations. And no longer is it to be the refuge of the house of Israel, bringing to remembrance their crookedness when they turn to follow them. And they shall know that I am the Master Yehovah. And it came to be in the 27th year, in the first month, on the first of the new moon, that the word of Yehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, Nebuchadrezzar, sovereign of Babel, made his army to serve a great service against Sor. Against every head it was made bald, and every shoulder worn bare, but he and his army received no reward from Sor for the service he served against it. Therefore thus said the Master Yehovah, See, I am giving the land of Mitzrayim to Nebuchadrezzar, sovereign of Babel, and he shall take away her wealth, take her spoil, and remove her pillage, and it shall be a reward for his army. I have given him the land of Mitzrayim as a reward for his labor, because they worked for me, declares the Master Yehovah. In that day I shall make the horn of the house of Israel to spring forth, while I open your mouth to speak in their midst, and they shall know that I am Yehovah. Chapter 30. And the word of Yehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, Thus said the Master Yehovah, Howl, woe to the day, For the day is near, even the day of Yehovah is near. It is a day of clouds, the time of the nations. The sword shall come upon Mitzrayim, and great anguish shall be in Cush, when the slain fall in Mitzrayim, and they take away her wealth, and her foundations are broken down. Cush and Put and Lud, all the mixed people, and Kub, and the sons of the land of the covenant, shall fall with them by the sword. Thus said Yehovah. Those who lean on Mitzrayim shall fall, and the pride of her power shall come down. From Migdal to Sevana, to those within her, shall fall by the sword, declares the Master Yehovah. They shall be ruined amidst the wasted lands, and her cities shall be in the midst of the cities that are dried up. And they shall know that I am Yehovah, when I have set a fire in Mitzrayim, and all her helpers are crushed. On that day messengers shall go forth before me in ships, to make the complacent Cushites afraid, and great anguish shall come upon them, as on the day of Mitzrayim. For look, it is coming. Thus said the Master Yehovah. I shall cause the crowd of Mitzrayim to cease by the hand of Nebuchadrezzar, sovereign of Babel. He and his people with him, the ruthless ones of the nations, are brought to destroy the land. And they shall draw their swords against Mitzrayim, and shall fill the land with the slain. And I shall make the rivers dry, and I shall sell the land into the hand of evil ones, and I shall lay the land waste, and all that is in it by the hand of strangers. I, Yehovah, have spoken. Thus said the Master Yehovah. And I shall destroy the idols, and make an end of the images in Nof, and there shall no longer be a prince from the land of Mitzrayim. And I shall put fear in the land of Mitzrayim, and I shall make Pathros a waste, and I shall set fire to Tzoan, and I shall execute judgments in No, and I shall pour out my wrath on Sin, the stronghold of Mitzrayim, and I shall cut off the crowd of No, and I shall set a fire in Mitzrayim. Sin shall writhe in anguish. No is to be split open, and No has adversaries daily. The young men of Aven and Pi Beseth shall fall by the sword, while these cities go into captivity. And in Tahaphanes the day shall be darkened, when I shatter the yokes of Mitzrayim there, and the pride of her strength shall cease in her. A cloud shall cover her, and her daughters shall go into captivity. And I shall execute judgments on Mitzrayim, and they shall know that I am Yehovah. And it came to be in the 11th year, in the 1st month, on the 7th of the new moon, that the word of Yehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, I've broken the arm of Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim. And see, it has not been bound up for healing, to put a bandage, to bind it, to make it strong, to hold a sword. Therefore thus said the Master Yehovah, see, I am against Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and shall break his arms, both the strong one and the one that was broken, and shall make the sword fall out of his hand, and shall scatter the Mitzrites among the nations, and disperse them throughout lands, and strengthen the arms of the sovereign of Babel. And I shall put my sword in his hand, and I shall break Pharaoh's arms, and he shall groan before him with the groanings of the slain before him. And I shall strengthen the arms of the sovereign of Babel, but the arms of Pharaoh shall fall. And they shall know that I am Yehovah, when I put my sword into the hand of the sovereign of Babel, and he shall stretch it out against the land of Mitzrayim. And I shall scatter the Mitzrites among the nations, and I shall disperse them throughout the lands, and they shall know that I am Yehovah. Chapter 31. And it came to be in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, on the 1st of the new moon, that the word of Yehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, say to Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and to his crowd, to whom are you to be compared in your greatness? See, Asher was a cedar in Lebanon, beautiful branches and forest shade, and of high stature. and its top was among the thick foliage. The waters made him great, the deep gave it height with its rivers running around its planting, and sent their channels to all the trees of the field. Therefore its height was lifted up above all the trees of the field, and its boughs were increased, and its branches became long because of the many waters as it sent them out. All the birds of the heavens made their nests in its boughs, and under its branches all the beasts of the field gave birth, and in its shadows all great nations dwelt. And it was beautiful in greatness, and in the length of its branches, for its roots reached many waters. Cedars in the garden of Elohim did not hide it. Fir trees were not like its boughs, and the chestnut trees were not like its branches. No tree in the garden of Elohim was as pretty as it. I made it beautiful by its many branches, so that the trees of Eden, which were in the garden of Elohim, were jealous of it. Therefore thus said the Master Yehovah, because you have increased in height, and it set its top among the thick foliage, and its heart was lifted up in its height, I gave it into the hand of the mighty one of the nations, and he shall certainly deal with it. I've driven it out, for it's wrong. And strangers, the most ruthless of nations, shall cut it down and leave it. Its branches shall fall on the mountains, and in all the valleys its boughs lie, broken by all the rivers of the land, and all the peoples of the earth shall come out from under its shadow and leave it. On its ruin shall dwell all the birds of the heavens, and all the beasts of the field shall be on its fallen branches, so that none of the trees by the waters would exalt themselves because of their height, nor set their tops among the thick foliage, and that no tree which drinks water would ever be high enough to reach up to them. For all of them shall be given up to death, to the depths of the earth, among the children of men who go down to the pit. Thus said the Master Yehovah, in the day when it is brought down to Sheol, I shall cause mourning. I shall cover the deep because of it, and hold back its streams, and many waters shall be confined, and I shall make Lebanon mourn for it, and all the trees of the field shall wither away because of it. I shall make the nations shake at the sound of its fall when I bring it down to Sheol, together with those who descend into the pit. And all the trees of Eden, the choice and the best of Lebanon, all that drink water, shall be comforted in the depths of the earth. They too shall go down to Sheol with it, with those slain by the sword, and those who are in its strength shall dwell in its shadows among the nations. To whom are you to be compared in esteem and greatness among the trees in Eden? But you shall be brought down with the trees of Eden to the depths of the earth, to lie in the midst of the uncircumcised with those slain by the sword. This is Pharaoh and all his crowd, declares the Master Yehovah.